Hello, Karate 360 Nation. I am Kalan Anglos.
I'm Richard Mosdell.
And welcome to episode 12 of Karate 360. If you're listening to this on Monday morning, or even if you're listening to it later in the week, this weekend is the BC Open, December 10th at the Richmond Olympic Oval.
That's right. It will be a fantastic and huge tournament. We've got lots of competitors. If you really want to compete, we know some people who know some people who might be able to squeeze you in. Other than that, you can watch it streaming live.
Yes, that's right. First time the BC Open's been streamed live.
That's right. We've had a few other tournaments streamed live, like the Nationals and Provincials, but it's the first time for the BC Open. So if you go to the karatebc.org page, you will be able to see it streaming live. And it's still free.
Yes. Now, are they going to be archiving these as well? Because I know with the Nationals matches and katas, they archive them, so you can actually watch them even after the performance.
Yeah, not only will it be archived, but the moment that it finishes, there will be some USB drive flashcards in my hand, one for every mat. There are 6 mats because the next day the BC team will be using them on 50-inch flat screens to do a tactical analysis of their performance the day before.
Pretty high tech.
Pretty high tech. So BC Open at the Richmond Oval. Hey, why don't you volunteer? I'm going to volunteer. Let's let Kalen's volunteering as a coach.
That's right.
Come and volunteer because you can have a front row seat to the action.
Yeah, that's right. So go to karatebc.org for any information on that. But again, this weekend, the BC Open.
That's right. And this is the big warm-up for the Canada Open Karate Championships, June 3rd and 4th. Also at the Richmond Oval. The Richmond Oval is doing a little bit of construction because it's an oval. And it was the speed skating track for the 2010 Winter Games. And what they've realized after they put the wooden floor over top of the speed skating track that doesn't have any ice on it, the floor has bubbles in it. People trip over it. And they've realized that the oval will never be used as a speed skating oval ever again. So they're popping the floor off, ripping up the track, and putting the floor down flat. So you will see some curtains and stuff just off to the side. But the floors will be flat after it.
Yep. Floors will be flat. Karate will be happening.
Karate will be happening. Well, it will be flat where the karate is happening.
Perfect. And
then also Canada Open Karate Championships. And we're really working on the brochure and poster and logo and stuff. So hope to have that out in just a few weeks. And don't forget, if you want to know what it's like to be inside the karate world, check out Sunny Leads Volume 1.
Yeah, and guys, don't forget we are Karate 360, kind of bringing you the 360 global approach to all karate news and everything karate related around the globe. You can catch us on our website, www.karate360podcast.com, as well as on our social media, Karate 360 on Twitter and on Facebook as well. So again, this is episode 12 of Karate 360.
Karate 360, let's start the show. You will kick high and I will sweep low. From local to global, the thing that we love. Karate Sanokumaru.
Hello again, Karate 360 Nation. Again, this is episode 12. And singing our little song jingle there in English this time.
That's right. I had about 3 people ask me, what the heck was I singing last week?
So again, if you missed it last week we talked to Peter Stoddart, and what a great guest to have on our podcast.
Absolutely. Full of energy, full of fun.
Yeah.
We had the Wadokai National Training Camp and Dan exam here, and he was here for a couple extra days beforehand, so we got to speak with him. Just great.
Yeah, just great to be around, great to talk to. I mean, his instructing style is really fun. So, again, if you missed that, go check out our episode from last week where we interviewed Peter.
So let's have a Japanese lesson today before we get started.
I love it. Let's go.
Okay, so Karate 360. So when I was asking the proper people to check my translations and stuff, they said, just say Karate 360 at the beginning of the Japanese version. I'm like, okay, because they're like, it's English, and English sounds international, and it's cool. Like, all right. So I said, what about let's start the show? And in Japanese, I was thinking, show o hajimaru. And they're like, no, say it like in a say it in English because, again, it sounds international and cool. Let's start the show. And okay. But then from there, we're going to dive into some Japanese. So then you will kick high, I will sweep low. It got takai keri ni wa ashibarai. If you takai keri ni wa
ashibarai.
That's right. So if you're going to do a high kick, I'm going to do a low sweep, basically. Then local to global. Lokaru kara global, eh?
Yep.
So local to global. So that's Japanese. Those are English loan words. So for example, computer is computer.
Yeah.
McDonald's is McDonaldo.
Richardo.
Kalan is Kalan. In the Japanese language, everything ends on a vowel except for the consonant N.
Okay. So
Like, they'll think about it. Yoko,
yeah.
karate, kumite, kata,
Geri, Gakuzuki.
keri, yakuzuki.
Yeah.
Yeah, all ends on a consonant. But if it's got an N in it, it will end on an N.
A hard end.
A hard N.
Yeah.
Right? So, local, kara, global, e. So, e means to go somewhere. Watashi tachi, that means us. Watashi tachi ga muchi ni natte iru mono. What was the song again? From local to global, the thing that we love. So this means the thing that we love. And in Japanese, the verbs kind of come at the end. So you'll be listening to someone say something in Japanese, and they'll be like, I am, and it's going to, it's a red building, and beside the red building, is no longer there. You're like, I've got to wait till the very end of the sentence.
It's like a suspense story.
All right, so repeat this after me. Watashi tachi ga muchu ni natte iru mono. Natte iru mono. So ga, there's all these like words that are kind of like an is or an a in Japanese, particles. So ga means what is emphasized before the ga. And if it's wa, it's what's emphasized after the wa. So that's what that is. And then it's sore wa. Sore. So R's in Japanese, when you see them in the Romaji Western spelling, are pronounced as L's. Sore. So, for example, it's not karate, but karate.
Ah, yes, of course. Everybody's heard that.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's like a Friends TV episode where Ross is talking about having done karate classes, and he says, it's karate. You know?
Have you seen that meme that says, don't mess with me, I know karate?
Yeah, exactly. So the song in Japanese is Karate 360, let's start the show. Takai keri ni wa ashibarai. Roku kara global e. Watashi tachi ga muchi ni natte iru mono. Sore wa karate. And then our favorite part. Sanrokumaru.
That's great.
So my son came up to me and goes, you're saying, did I tell you this before? You're saying 360. But why aren't you saying 360? It's 360, Papa. I'm like, yeah, James, but just for fun, we're saying 360.
Sanrokumaru just sounds good.
It sounds right.
Yeah,
well, also, if you were
fun.
telling someone your phone number, you wouldn't say it's 360. You would say it's 360.
That's right.
So that's right. So everyone practice that.
There you go. Write it down. Get your notebook out.
That's right.
Little Japanese lesson of the week.
I can put it on the website.
Yeah, there you go.
What a week it has been.
It's been a crazy week. I mean, of course, we're getting ready for that December 10th BC Open. You more so than me. I think you got a lot going on with that. But yeah, it's just been absolutely crazy this week.
You mentioned something we should talk about.
What should we talk about?
I realized that how much I really love to stay up late, but I really love to get up early.
Oh, yes?
Doesn't actually work.
No, it doesn't. I told you this. Remember when you told me that you like to stay up late and get up early? It didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And I think you know why now.
Well, I had a really obvious reason why. Really, people shouldn't park their cars.
That's the problem. People park in their cars.
People park in their cars when I've got an extra long pickup van.
What are they thinking?
What are they thinking? So I knew that this stay up late, get up early thing, and I don't use it every day, but there's a lot of preparation stuff going on for numerous little things.
Yes.
So I put my van about an inch away from someone else's car, and then someone was walking by in front of me, so I shifted gears of the van, and it moved about a foot. which time the massive steel bumper of the long van, it's a 15-passenger van,
Yeah.
popped off someone's front left bumper.
It just magically popped off.
It went pop. And about 4 or 5 people walking around the parking lot looked at me like, how dare you? And so I jumped out, and in a big voice with the international gesture of a pen and a piece of paper, it's my fault. I'm writing my information down on this piece of paper.
Everybody's watching. Yeah.
Everybody's watching, and I take full responsibility. And I wrote my name, wrote everything, put on their windshield, promptly. Got the heck out of there by burning rubber.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want like the Kenzen van sitting beside this bumped up car. Called the insurance company and professed the truth immediately because I hate to tell a lie. It's one of my problems. I hate to tell lies.
Well, I don't think that's a problem at all.
So, yes.
What did you tell me? You said it's much easier to remember the truth.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's a saying. It's easier to remember the truth than to remember your lie.
Yes, yeah.
Which isn't really the moral thing to be thinking of, but
it makes sense.
But whatever it takes to keep people telling the truth, that's great.
Yeah.
So I've been a little busy, but
busy running into cars.
But it balances out really all the awesomeness we've had here in our club because we did have a national training camp.
Yeah.
We had a black belt Dan exam, and we had 2 brown belts pass to the black belts.
Yeah, a couple new, fresh, crisp black belts there in the class.
I know. It's just, when you get a bunch of new color belts and their belts are really bright and new and stiff, and I always tease them when they first come to class, like, oh, your belt is so tight, so bright. I can't believe. Oh, I need shades. Holy cow, I need shades. But then when wear the black belts, I'm like, your black belt's sucking up all the light in the room. How dare you? I can't believe your black belt's sucking all the light. So we had 2 students pass from their brown belt to black belt, which is a big deal.
Yes, yeah.
And then my wife passed from her first degree to second degree.
Yeah,
so
and I know the 2 going for their first degree down test, just talking to them last week, they were quite nervous, actually. Yeah, so...
They weren't the most nervous people in the group.
No, I'm sure they weren't. But... yeah, I mean, just getting up there and challenging the black belt test is a good accomplishment in its own. But I mean, passing your first, it's a big step for sure.
Well, talking about the black belts themselves, their club was kind enough to get them beginner black belts.
Okay. Yeah.
With their names embroidered in Japanese. I didn't get the most expensive ones from Japan. I got really, really good ones. I actually think they look just fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to have to give out a shout out to Rodney because he took care of it for me.
As he does.
Yeah. So, no, I've got some good ones from SMAI Karate. They came out great. The red just looks awesome. I really think having red in the belt is really cool, especially with our red logo on it.
Yeah. It just pops, yeah.
So these really nice looking belts, and there they were, and they passed. And because I had to help run the test as one of the judges, and then I was the one we give the people, everybody who challenged the test, a number. And I used your system, by the way, of writing it on their arm.
Very
but
good.
I wrote it on their palm instead of on the top.
Okay, the only problem with that is the palm gets sweaty sometimes.
Yeah, well, they only had to wait like 2 seconds.
Yes, okay.
So, and I double and triple checked. Like I literally, when they were all lined up, I went up, do you remember your number? Tell it to me. That's right. So, and I had a double, triple checked. Anyway, so they passed. That was great. One of the ones there, his wife was jumping up and down the lobby and stuff. So then I got the belts, and it's amazing because we put their name in katakana, so Japanese script for how to take a foreign name, and then we put Kenzen Sports Karate in kanji. It's a big deal to get that done, right?
Sure, yeah.
And so they lined up. All the clubs broke up. There's 4 clubs. So we all broke up because I said, everyone go see your instructor right now. Because I already passed. But R3 did. And so I was just going to hand them the belt. I was like going to do a little Japanese bow ceremony, like, congratulations on passing. And I looked in their faces. They looked
frightened.
No, well, not frightened, but they looked so earnest.
Okay, yeah,
like, we tried really hard, sensei, and they were totally different ages. Like, one's like just a teenager, and the other one's in his 30s. But they looked so honest and pure and earnest, and and well-meaning, I started crying. I couldn't talk.
Look at you getting emotional.
I know. I got verklempt. And I was like, I looked at my wife. I'm like, I can't do this. It's been so long since, like, we had black belts passed a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I had black belts passed in Japan, but it's been a while. And so then I looked at my kids, and they looked at me like, what's wrong with you?
Why are you crying?
And so I passed them one belt to each of the kids, and the kids passed them to the guys. It was kind of funny.
Are you going to cry right now?
No, I'm good right now.
You're good right now.
If I think about the van's totally not broken.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we should just clarify on that too. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
Yeah,
by the way, no one was hurt. Insurance company says it's all taken care of.
Yeah. And we've all been there.
We've all been there. It was bound to happen. Yeah, well, Craig, he works at the fire department. He said that, the newer drivers in the fire trucks are, it happens.
Yeah.
They
well,
bang into stuff.
Yeah.
They bang into stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So, no, it's great. So we had people pass. So we have an amazing amount of stuff that we want to share with everybody. We're talking global news. We've got tournament results. We have all kinds of things happening. But the Dan test and some of the things, some of the questions from the parents have been so fulfilling and made this week so dynamic that we really need to talk about these couple topics. Plus, you've got some fantastic strength and conditioning stuff for combat sports to talk about, that we really need to get this out of the way.
Yes.
And then when we've got this out of the way, because we're still going through the analysis of we had the university championships in Japan happen. And there was
the final WKF tournament that we haven't talked about yet.
That's
the
right.
U21 in cadet.
U21 cadet. Yeah, that happened in Indonesia.
Yeah.
So we're still going through that. So
plus the BC Open, that's will be coming up here next week.
That's right, and BC Open, and we're doing a live show next week. By the way,
yes, we are. Yeah.
We have got a theater-style booking room all done. So we're gonna save some of the stuff, because then when we talk about all these other international events, then you fantastic listeners out there can, and some of the people who will be in the room with us, can be talking with us.
Yeah, yeah.
So what we decided is, let's talk about a Dan test, a black belt test, because if you're listening to this, one day you have, or you will be going for your first black belt test, or you'll be going for another one.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just a good idea to kind of acknowledge that and to kind of look at, what it takes and what you got to do.
Exactly. Well, Kalan, you were training on Friday night.
Yeah.
What was the sense you were getting from the 4 clubs and the people that you're training with? And
yeah, I think, having Peter here as well was great, because it just kind of brought a different perspective in, and, different voice for sure, and just kind of showing, just giving some things that maybe we hadn't thought about before. Like, I know even some things with my front stance, he was kind of changing a little bit. So I think just having everybody there was helpful, because you get to see how everybody else is doing it, and how somebody else is teaching it as well. I think one of the takeaways for me, and I, wasn't doing my Dan test, but I was here with everybody who was doing it. One of the takeaways I think from it is, we're, in this case, they're all in it together, but we're all kind of in this together. Like, everybody who starts karate wants to become a black belt.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the goal, especially once you kind of get to yellow, orange belt. Okay, well, now you're already on your way. So, getting that elusive black belt when you're, white, yellow belt is, oh, black belt, wow. And you hear it with all the kids, wow, you're a black belt. And then, when you finally get the chance to do it, it's just like, holy smokes, it's here. Like, we're going to do it tomorrow, and this is happening. So it's good. And I used to always look at the kind of pre-test workshops as kind of like a tune-up of, for your kind of black belt. But, it really felt like here, before our black belts, it was more of just it was really relaxing. It was a really relaxing atmosphere. It was almost just to calm you down a little bit. Like, okay, we're in this together. This isn't, we're not really doing rocket science here, we're just going for a black belt. I mean, it's obviously serious stuff, but I mean, we don't have to take it so seriously. Just go in there and do your thing. And I mean, you've been training probably for months and months for this, so just go do your thing type thing. So, that was kind of my takeaway, I think, from that. Yeah.
That's a good comment. To calm you down is a good point, because a black belt test is not supposed to be a fitness test.
No, yeah. No,
you're supposed to be fit to be able to do it.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's a technical test.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think one thing that you said too that really made sense was, one of the most important factors in doing your black belt test, and I think you can probably argue for any belt test, is are you showing that you have that heart? Like, do you want to be in there, and are you really showing that, yes, I want to get my black belt, or I just want to get my blue belt, whatever it is test you're going for? Are you showing that heart? Like, do you really want it? And then I think it just strikes a chord in some of the people that are watching you and judging you.
No, absolutely. Heart is important. And normally that means you're going to put some effort into it.
Of course, yeah.
And you're going to be thinking about what you're doing.
Yes, yeah.
In Japan, it's so easy to get a black belt because you'll train 5-6 nights a week.
That's right, yeah.
A year and a half, you'll go and challenge the test because they don't look at everything.
Yeah.
They're looking at the core curriculum. So sometimes, to me, it's felt like in North America, a green belt is equal to a first degree black belt in Japan.
Right.
Now, not in terms of technique, but in terms of importance.
Okay, yeah.
Because, in Japan, you're not an entity in karate until you pass your black belt.
That's right. That's what you're saying.
But here you are, of course, an entity.
Yes, yeah.
But it's a technical evaluation of your performance, and you need to be able to internalize your style's curriculum and present it within the paradigm of acceptance.
Yeah.
So there are variations that will be allowed as long as the principle of movement is correct.
Yeah.
And it's common to have, and this is not just a karate thing, but in lots of Japanese cultural things, they'll have a seminar the day before or the days leading up to it. And one of the things the evaluator is looking for is this person a thinking person? Can I give them critical, constructive criticism? And they're making an effort to change. Now, we know to make a massive change in anything is a 3 to 6 months process.
Yeah.
They say, when you're going for a massive competition that you don't change anything.
Sure.
Though technically, you change tactical.
Yes. Yeah.
But in a seminar, you're trying to show them that, you can change your shoulder a bit. You can change this a little bit. So then when you go for the Dan test, because it's not a fitness test, you do it strong, but you don't blast through it.
Sure. Yeah.
And you're able to show them, oh yeah, my hip was supposed to be right there.
Yeah. Show the moves. Yeah.
Yep. So one thing I was thinking about we should talk about tonight is, are all black belts equal?
Yeah, and that was something I was going to ask you too, because correct me if I'm wrong, but you're a 5th degree belt. So what do you think, having gone through, first to 5 Dan black belts, what's the difference between doing a first Dan belt test to a second Dan belt test to a 5th Dan belt test? Is it just you're up there doing different katas, you're expected to be more precise and more powerful, or whatever it is? I mean, what's the difference? What's the difference between getting your 1st or your 5th or your 8th?
That's a really good question. So there's a couple answers I can give to that one. First is a secret. Well, it's an open secret, but I've gone to my 5th degree and then I went from 1 to 5 again.
Right. Yes.
Because I went through an old system.
Yeah.
1 to 5.
And then a new.
And then I went through the official Wadokai system, 1 to 5.
I was going to say the real system.
Well, it's important that I don't think of anything I did before I was in the Wadokai as a waste of time.
Sure. No, of course not. There's no waste of time.
No, those people, that thing I did was just as valid as what I'm doing now.
Sure.
But the way I've been training for the last almost 20 years is a more practical, common sense way of doing things.
Right, yeah.
And it's really part of one of the 4 big mainstream groups.
Yes.
So there's 2 ways of looking at this, because there's a way of looking at it from a West Coast North American view, which might be shared by lots of people. There's a way of looking at from the Japan side of view. In Japan, 1st, 2nd, 3rd degree black belt are very similar.
Okay.
So you show your core competency. There's not a lot extra you have to show. Maybe a few extra kata, a few extra 2-person series, the Kihon Kumite series. But you're trying to demonstrate that your performance is clear and fluid and on point in the paradigm they're looking for. And that you have really, really rehearsed for this.
Yes, yeah. That was something that you talked about before, is you need to look, when you get up there, you need to look rehearsed, like you have been practicing for this black belt for, 4, 6, 8 months.
Exactly.
It is, yeah.
Exactly. the groove has to be there. I don't know how to describe this. Maybe you can do this better than I can. But when I was in Europe, once we were visiting a castle, and it was so old, and the stone steps were so old, and so many billions of people had walked on it that the steps had a curve in it for when people stepped on it.
Yes, yeah.
Or like when I used to work in the lumber industry, and there were pieces of equipment that were so used to having the log roll down it and then hit a saw or something that there was a curve that was so. Sometimes you're training for so long and you're so fluid that how would you describe this in a biomechanical way? Like your muscles are attuned to the movement correctly.
Yeah, I mean, your kinetic chain is just in sync more so than anything. Outside of the biomechanic, I mean, I think in the sporting world, more the sport psychology world, obviously they call it flow state, right?
Okay.
Kind of in the flow state of what things are. And I think anybody who's competed or anything has kind of known that you prepare, all the time. And I think especially maybe I can even say in competition, when you train for so long, once you get up on the mat to do your kata or your kumite, your brain's kind of off. You're just kind of going on autopilot type thing. So you need to be rehearsed. And especially so in a belt test where it's so technical, you need to have gone through this so many times that you can do it in your sleep. You can just go up there, close your eyes, and make it happen type thing. So,
is there a way of thinking in kinesiology where your muscles are trained to do that movement? Like you're conditioned to do that type of pattern that you've been practicing over and over again?
Just muscle memory more
muscle
so than
memory,
anything.
okay.
Yeah, your actual neurons sending those signals and kind of getting used to it. That kinetic chain. Kinetic chain is just kind of the movement from the neurons out to the muscle.
Ladies and gentlemen, the word of the phrase of the week is kinetic chain.
Kinetic chain, yes. And just kind of, your muscles do have muscle memory. You absolutely do. And it is more so from the neurons and that kind of thing. But yeah, just kind of practicing it over and over where your body just knows what to do. If you get a ball thrown at your face enough times, you're going to know to try and block it with your hand type thing.
Yes.
So it's kind of the same idea, obviously a little bit more in depth, but yeah, you just have to practice, and your body will just know what to do.
Automatic subconscious reaction.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, this is a side note, but the last couple of weeks I've been throwing the word pliability all over the class.
Any opportunity you get.
Any opportunity you get. So we were doing an active warm up. We could try and make you more pliable.
Yeah.
So now kinetic chain.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see how I can throw that around a lot.
There you go. You can use it. Just remember, it's from usually in this case, usually the kinetic chain works from your feet up. Usually in most combat sports, it's from your feet up. Because most of our stuff starts from your feet, right?
Yes.
Even if it's a quick split instant, it's still usually from your feet somewhere around or from your torso. But yeah,
it's gonna be great when I throw this on. First, I'm going to go read about it.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to throw it on the after-school kids. And they're going to go, what the heck is he talking about now?
And then
by the end of the week, like, Sensei, what do you think about my kinetic chain? Because now they're like, Sensei, look how pliable I am today.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
If you can pass your yellow belts, you can pass your black belt.
Yeah, that's a little bit what we talked about last week with Peter. Yeah, I mean, you just, it's all this, you're doing the same things for the most part. You're just doing more advanced versions of the same things. I mean, of course each test gets harder and harder, but if you can get through that first one, I think you can get through any of them.
And I did have a Joe Rogan thing. I went way off to the side topic because you asked me a specific question and I had it in my brain. 1, 2, and 3 are the same grouping of Dan rank.
Yes.
4 is a kind of a big step. 5 is a big step. 5, 6, 7, kind of in the same grouping.
Okay.
8 is the biggest step. 9 is kind of some of this. I mean, different styles have their own way, but basically it's honor. You live long enough, you still stand on your feet.
Right. 10
they kind of reserve for the founder, and 11 is for Ameradote. Master Ken.
Yes,
yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
So that's how they kind of grouped. Most people in their lifetime won't go past 3.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe 4. I had a really good friend, Leslie Bowers, and who was 72 or 3 when he passed away, and he made it to 5th degree black belt when he was in his mid-60s.
Sure. I think to get to that point, I mean, of course, I don't know. I'm only a first dan, but I mean, to get to a 5th or 6th dan, you really have to be dedicated to karate training.
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, you just said a lot of the black belts are grouped together. So it's like, well, what's really the big difference from a second degree to a third degree? And, what motivates you to get from a second to a third degree? Well, you have to really be dedicated to karate.
Yeah, there's a saying, and it's used in different things, but some people are a carrier and some people are full blown.
Yes.
And I think when you're trying to get your 5th, 6th degree black belt, you're full blown.
Yeah.
You
are a karateka.
You are a real karateka.
Yeah.
It's really, you dream about it, you think about it. I've been so busy this last few days with team management and event management.
Yeah, so much going on.
So much going on. And in some ways, I think busier than I expected, but that's good. That means a lot of people are engaged and trying.
Yeah.
I've been saying to people, there are other things in the world than karate happening right now outside. I can experience that when this is all over. Like, yeah, don't worry. All the non-karate stuff is still going on just fine.
Yes, Yeah.
So you'll get back to it. You'll get back to it.
It was like the other day you told us, if there's any, exciting news going on in the world outside of karate, let me know, because I'm not aware of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I have friends. You talk to people like when they run a big karate event, and it's a group effort of a lot of really, really impassioned people. You kind of put your life on hold for a little bit, at different levels and doing different things. And with the Dan test, it's kind of the same thing because you're planning for it. So, if you're a white belt, yellow, orange, red, green, blue, purple, I'm reading them up the wall here, brown, black stripe, getting ready, you should train. You should really think that, if you pass that yellow belt, you should keep going.
Yeah.
You're going to make it. Another way you have to look at the Dan test is that it's almost like being a 100-meter sprinter, in that to get faster, you have to get technically better.
Sure.
And also you have to be physically stronger.
See, I would probably relate it myself to more like a marathon.
Okay.
It takes a lot longer to do, and you have to have a lot of heart. You have to have a lot of heart to get through a marathon, and you just have to be able to see your way through to the end.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you say that, because then you can look at it different ways. Like if you think about the journey, it's like a marathon.
Yeah.
If you think about your performance, it's like a sprinter.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So if you're a white belt, you're going to run at 14 seconds for the 100 meters, and you're going to look all knees and elbows and ankles.
Yeah.
Right? By the time you get to be your first degree black belt, you're running at 12 flat.
Yeah.
And your form is good, but you kind of don't have the power yet. You don't have, last 10, 15 meters, your form starts crapping out.
Yeah.
Then you start being able to pull off like an 11 and a 10 and a half, and your form's getting great, but you're getting older.
Yeah.
So then you're hanging at 11, maybe a little bit higher, but your form is awesome.
Yeah.
So in terms of the actual performance, it's like being a sprinter, and you perform better, your technique gets better, but you do get older.
Yeah.
And I like your analogy in terms of going from the white belt to black belt. It is a marathon. You have to pace yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you get to the finish line, you do want to demonstrate that really good technique.
Absolutely. And, like you kind of mentioned, every single time you go for the next belt test, you're getting a little bit better, but maybe sometimes it doesn't quite seem that way to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny when I train, martial arts athletes and that kind of thing, or even if I have somebody that just comes to me that wants to get fitter and they want to do some pad work or that kind of stuff. One thing I like to do is I always like to record them when they first kind of start.
Okay.
And then, a few months down the road, record them again.
Yes,
And then a few months down the road, record them again. Because, you don't sometimes feel like you're making improvements. So I think that might be something that I've thought of that might be beneficial for going for belt tests as well, Look at this performance that you did at your white belt. Look at this performance you did at your yellow belt, your orange belt, because then you can look and you can say, well, clearly I'm doing better, because look at these videos. I'm obviously gotten better as you go. Because, like I said, we've talked about this before. In karate, sometimes you hear a lot about what you're doing wrong and not necessarily what you're doing right. So by being able to see and watch you kind of improve throughout the years or whatever it is for each belt test, I think it helps you kind of stay motivated to keep going.
No, that's a good point. We've talked a lot about using an iPad.
Yeah.
Just putting it on an iPad stand.
Yeah, it's so much easier now than it's ever been.
Yeah. And now, Peter was showing us some video analysis software from last week when you could stop, rewind, you could draw angles on to show
Yeah.
people's angles and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I think that's good. You could actually do a Dan test on Skype, really, if you had to.
You could. You
You know?
absolutely could. Yeah.
You know, because if you could also put it on a big projector, people could see it more closely.
Sure. The future of karate
The
Dan
future.
tests.
3D.
Yeah. In the year 2000.
That's right. When you do a Dan test, one side is you preparing for it. Another side is you, let's say, you've reached a level where you are one of the judges and facilitators of it.
Yeah.
So if you're preparing for it, a couple things that I have heard. One, don't do it if you're injured. Don't do it if you're not in shape.
Sure.
You want to put your best foot forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
You're training your fitness as much as you're training your technique. Because while it's not a fitness test, you want to perform at your best
Yeah. Yeah.
and be able to handle the stress.
Yes.
You know, the people who came for the exam, they're all really, really earnest and had the right intentions. And some people didn't pass and they'll go for the next round. And some people did. And one of the people, when they were up doing their moving basics, and I was calling it out, and I was like, Ich, ni, san. And they started breathing really hard. I was like, oh, I think they're having a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah.
So I started counting like, Ichi, ni. You're doing great. Okay, you're going to turn around now. One thing Norma Sensei taught me, and I noticed this in Japan, is they actually don't tell anybody if they're going good or bad. You just say, okay, can you get up there and do your kata for me? Great. Thank you very much. Have a seat.
Yes.
And they don't know if it was good or bad, right? And so if you make sure that was good, as long as you don't say that is good or that is bad, but you just say, thank you very much. Please stand there. Please do this. Thank you very much. Have a seat. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Switch. Could you do the other side for me, please? Could you do it again for me, please? Thank you. Have a seat. It's like you're a musical adjudicator. You don't give. It is very professional and diplomatic, and you give no feedback at that moment.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's on the running it side, you know, and that's an interesting transition to go from trying for your black belt to, whoa, I just passed this license. I get to actually help judge the black belt test.
Yeah, yeah. And there's been a couple, like yellow, orange belts even here that you've had me kind of step in and say, here, take this little judging machine coming out. And I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And, I've only been doing Wado for about, a year now, but let's do it. Okay. So, no, I totally know what you mean. It's definitely a different realm. It's like kind of you have to put on your different hat. Now you're not putting on your training hat. You're putting on your evaluator hat. So
yeah.
It's a little different. Yeah.
Well, there's a common system that's used in Japan, which is Maru Sankake Batsu, or Maru Sankake, what's the word? Shikake, which is like square. So circle, triangle, X, or circle,
Right.
triangle, square.
Yes. Yeah. Like different scores.
That's right. So
Yeah.
if you got standing basics, moving basics, kata 1, kata 2, kata 3,
Yes.
maybe 2-person
And
stuff.
that threw me off right away.
Yeah.
When you showed me that.
And some people, they do, some of the judges do circle for, this is fine. Triangle, maybe. X, not good.
Yeah.
But some of them do a square. And sometimes I think, why do they do a square and not an X? But then what if someone sees your sheet when they're walking by? It's just a string of X's.
Yeah.
Japanese, it's batsu,
Yeah.
like crossing your arms, batsu.
Sure.
If you put your hands over your head and make your fingertips touch like you're making a circle around your head, that means it's okay. And it's actually a really good gesture when you're doing things at a long distance away from each other. Like in a tournament, the head table might go, ring number 3. Is everything ready to go? And then the ring controller puts their hands above their head, makes a circle.
Yeah,
and
makes
makes
their
a
arm
circle, or they go like, they make an X.
Uh,
And, I think it's from Japanese agricultural feudal past or
sure.
something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so then you look at everything, you kind of weight it slightly differently. You go, okay, do I have more circles and triangles? Do I have more triangles and X's? Do I have more X's and triangles?
Yeah, yeah.
And at that point, you kind of know which direction it's going.
Sure. And I mean, a lot of instructors have different ways of doing it, of course, and some of them are rooted in tradition. I know here we're kind of playing around with a few different systems, kind of what works best with the system that we got going on here, and we're kind of always changing. And I think that's important for not just Dan tests, but in everything you kind of do in a club, is kind of keep changing and keep looking at how you can do things better. Why do we necessarily have to do it the way it was done before?
No, exactly. I'm talking to people all the time about how they do their evaluation.
Sure.
Because it's a topic I'm thinking about with, how can we do kata competition evaluations better?
Right. Yeah.
Craig has mentioned, because he's doing a master's in high performance training, that in some sports they do, like, say, 5 judges, and each of the judges are licensed to a certain level with their knowledge, and then they give a score, and then the scores are just average. So, the scores are from 3 to 6, and there's 5 people, and the average is 5, and then that's the score the person gets. Because they need to have some sort of feedback. But in terms of a Dan test, I think if the color belt test can match the Dan test as closely as possible, one way to think about it is that, in the old days, you're a white belt, then you're a black belt, right? Then they threw in a brown belt, and then they threw in a couple other colors, and they started matching what judo was doing and sort of the Q system. Sure. So if you kind of think about the black belt being like a piece of licorice, at which a scissors went along and cut it into sections, and the most important section was the middle. There's your white belt, because that's your foundation. Okay. And then the sections you're not starting at the base and going up, but you're starting at the middle. And then, because, katas really don't go more and more complicated. They just are a variety of theory of movement. Yeah. And so, so that's one way of looking at the black belt test. Is it's just all the color belt tests are just a long black belt test that's been cut up into sections. But really, you're repeating, you're showing your core fundamental movement better. I remember meeting this one guy. He used to train at Arukawa Toru Sensei's dojo. Arukawa Toru Sensei, who passed away a year or two ago, was a fantastic instructor, famous in the Wadokai because he was one of the first ones that went overseas in the 60s. Okay. He also helped set up the JKF. He was the chairman of the Wadokai Technical Committee. And so this American from New York was training, I think he was in his late 20s, early 30s. And he trained with Arukawa Sensei for like about a year in his dojo in Shibuya. And he looked like a black belt in his basics. In his sparring, he didn't really spar in class. In Arukawa Toru Sensei's dojo, a lot of famous Wado instructors came out of there in the 70s and 80s. And then they all went on to make their own clubs. And then, the members got older. And so everyone used to be in their 20s, and everyone used to be in their 30s, and then they're in their 60s. So when he went there, they did lots of technical training. So when he trained with me, I think his name might have been Chris, he looked amazing. His after a year, and I think he'd only done his yellow belt test, looked really sharp. Yeah. But that was because he had a really good instructor showing him how to do the fundamentals properly. Sure. Yeah.
And one thing you said there that I want to talk a little bit more too is about kumite in a Dan testing as well, because of course you have to do kumite in a Dan test, and you have to do kumite in even lower ranked belt tests as well. But I know when I went for my black belt test, my first Dan several years ago, when I kind of went up to do it, I was kind of prompted, just do some spinning back kicks and try and make it look real fancy, because we're just kind of want to make it fun and make it entertaining for the evaluators. So it's kind of interesting. They didn't really look at your technique too much. They just want to make sure you could see you can move and kind of control a match, I guess, more so than anything. So, you've evaluated black belts test as well. So why don't you tell us, what do you kind of look for in a kumite match when you're doing your Dan test?
I like to have seen that kumite match of you doing your black belt test.
Oh, yeah. Spinning back kicks all around.
Back flip to a spinning back kick.
Yeah, a couple of back spinning fists, all kind of things. Just whatever I could think of there. I was pretty young, too, when I went for my black belts. I was like, okay, whatever. You tell me to do it, I'll do it.
How old were you?
Well, I went for my Shodan Ho first.
With the white stripe. Wait a minute. That's called probationary Shodan.
Okay, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't pass. But I went for that when I was 16. You could go for that when you were 16.
Do you have to still wear a brown belt, or you get to put your black belt on?
Well, I was a brown belt, and then I was going for my Shodan Ho, which was a black with a white stripe. So
a black with a white stripe, okay.
Yes, so if you pass, you get the black with the white stripe. I was 16 years old. I failed that test, actually. I failed I failed that test. And then when you're 18, you can go for your actual Shodan test. So when I was I think it was 18 or 19 when I went for my Shodan test, and I passed that one. And it was the Shodan test where I was asked to just kind of make it look fun type thing.
Yes.
For all the evaluators.
Did you put fear in your opponent?
Well, you know how
Did you have one hand behind your back?
Kumite has never been something that scared me before. It was always kind of the kata and the technique and the basic stuff that I used to have to kind of concentrate on more so than anything. So Kumite just kind of...
You're making up points at that point?
Yeah, just making up points at that point, seeing what I could do. And in my particular black belt test, we had to do a lot of kata. I think we did 5 or 6 different katas. Shitoru. We did 5 or 6 different katas, plus we had to do obviously all our basics, standing basics, walking basics, kion ippon we had to do. At that point, actually, you could make up your own kion ippon.
Oh, wow.
So you can
your mama.
That's right. So you could almost make it, again, same thing. You were just supposed to make it kind of look as fun as you possibly could. Yeah. And, that was all fine and dandy until you got to the Dan test and you got matched with somebody who didn't know the moves you were doing and all that you've been practicing. And, you just kind of had to kind of go along with it. So that was kind of my first delve into the black belt test.
That's cool. Well, okay, a couple things you said there that I want to get back to, but you had a question for me. The Shodan, so sparring. Jisai kumite. Jiu kumite is free sparring with rules and referee stops you.
Right.
Jisai kumite is you spar, don't get hurt, don't hurt the other person, because that's an automatic fail.
Yeah.
But there's nobody to, there's a ref who will say start and stop, and he'll stop you if you bang into each other.
And that's about it.
But that's it. You control the match.
Okay.
So Jisai kumite, real kumite, you have to fight, and now this is stuff of legends of black belt tests, of people going in there and being so nervous and or cocky, where when it came to the sparring part, they were going to lay out the other person on the floor,
sure, yes,
or
yes, absolutely,
spill blood, make a point,
yeah,
which is absolutely the backwards thing to do, because at that point you just want to show that you're competent.
Yeah, everything
else, because a Dan test is a technical test, so you don't want to pass because your kumite was amazing.
No,
but your kata was suspect. So I have seen both the knock down, beat him up, the judging panel, take him out, finish him, sort of the one, to all the way over to being told, okay, last time we did this, everyone punched each other in the head so hard that nobody is allowed to actually touch each other in this time doing sparring. I've seen that side too.
I believe it.
So Jisai kumite means, for 30 seconds to a minute, you have to control the match. First time I did a Wadokai Dan test in Japan, I failed it. My technique wasn't right, even though I was doing 2 different versions of Wado at the same time. My technique just was off. And I remember fighting this Russian from Russia.
Russian from Russia,
yeah.
Imagine that, eh?
And he was trying to knock me out with his punches, and so I was dodging him just barely. The guy was like a WKF fighter, so I kicked him as hard as I could with a side kick, which unfortunately picked him up off the floor, and he landed on the grading table, and right in front of all the 8th stands. And when he hit the table, all their sheets just exploded in the air.
Well, sir, you failed.
Well, I failed. Yeah, I was pretty upset about that. Yeah. But so that was that sparring one.
Yeah.
I've been in one where Peter broke my nose. In another one, I failed that one. I went to the bathroom and I blew my nose and it blew blood all down my gi. Oh my God, that was so embarrassing.
Been there.
Yeah. And I had to go to the hospital and straighten my nose out. And I just got over a nose break from a tournament. So it had just been reset, and I was like, there was like, don't touch your nose for like 3 months. And I just didn't block a punch, and that's it. I've been in one where I wasn't allowed to actually hit the other person. And then the last one I did for my instructor's license was against a guy who he had done his Dan test. He had sparred with someone and like almost beat the person up, and he had to stop the guy from fighting. And then he was in when you do your instructor's license, you have to do basically another Dan test. So then he had to spar with me, and he was like, "Oh, fresh meat." So I promptly kicked him in the head, thinking this is probably going to. He was trying to punch me really hard, and I was zipping and dodging, and then I decided I'm just gonna have to kick him in the head.
Yeah.
So I kicked him in the head. I looked over, and they said, "Yame, stop." And then Takagi Sensei went in Japanese, "Moichido," which means again. I was like, "Oh, it's on."
Here we go. Here we go.
They want to see it happen. So
Mortal Kombat.
Exactly. So. Peter will remember this, and Lawrence and stuff remember this. And then, so the moment they said Hajime, I was on the other side of the ring. I was like, dude, he failed both tests, and I passed mine. But it's yeah, it's like at that point, kumite will not make up your technical performance because it's a technical performance.
Yeah,
that's why there's a lot of really good fighters, but not great at kata.
Yeah.
There's something else you mentioned in that. Yeah, so okay, you did your Shodan Ho, which means probationary Shodan.
Okay.
And you failed the first time you went. All right, so let's talk about how many Dan tests have you done?
I have done two Dan tests.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. I have done 12.
Okay. A little different.
A little different. 12 or 13. So I failed 3 or 4 of them.
Okay.
Right? This is interesting. One of the brown belts came up to Norma Sensei during the practice day and said, "Norma Sensei, you're really making me nervous." And he was in his late teens, 18, 19-year-old, maybe 20. And she, being diplomatic and no nonsense, was like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "You're making me nervous. The way you talk to us, the way you look at us, you're making me nervous for my Dan test." And I think he was trying to build some sympathy, to which she replied, "I have done 22 Dan tests." Shotokan, Wadokai, JKF.
Yeah.
Right? So if I'm making you nervous on your very first one, when I have done 22, get back out there and keep trying. So I think that was good. You the person who is the lead judge is saying, "I have been where you are 22 times."
Yeah. Get back out there, Tiger.
Exactly. I think I watched Norma Sensei's 6th and 7th Dan test, if I remember correctly. 2002, 2005. Yeah, I think I remember her doing her test. And she sparred against the guys. So
Of course she did.
Of course she did.
Probably beat them all.
Of course she did.
Yeah.
All right. So I hope we gave you, our fantastic Karate 360 Nation listeners, a little bit of an insight about a Dan test. Really, it is another color belt test. Anybody can get to it. It's a technical test, which means be rehearsed.
Yes.
We don't want to see anybody go out there and smash each other around kumite. That's not it. We want you to go up there and show your moving basics, your kata, your two-person movement, and your kumite, and show that you, for your age and your level, are rehearsed and feel comfortable in what you're doing. You're nervous, yes, but you feel comfortable. Then you will pass.
Yeah, and show some heart. Show that you have some heart out there.
Exactly.
Show that you deserve that black belt,
That's
know?
right.
And if you're feeling nervous and you're not quite sure, well, the old adage, just fake it till you make it. Go out there, put on your best confidence mask and just, show that heart and show that you got it.
And if there's a seminar the day before, do the whole thing.
Yes.
Don't show up and go, "I don't want to do a seminar because I'm going to save myself for tomorrow."
No. No. A seminar should be the time to show it.
That's right.
Just as much as the test, I think.
Because sometimes you can get a Dan rank and it's an aspirational title.
Yeah.
Which means you're going to grow into it.
Yeah,
it's like saying to somebody, "You are now sensei."
Yeah.
And you have to grow into that. You have to grow into it. So, go for it. If it's in your future, it is about the skill in the body, not the belt on your hip. But the belt on your hip should show that you tried to improve the skill in the body.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Don't ever worry about the level of somebody else. Every black belt test I've ever seen, every single one, people will go, "I don't know if I would have done it that way. I don't know if I would have passed that person, or I would have." Don't worry about it. Just go out and do it.
Just go out there and do your thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a couple other things we want to talk about. One is, and this has come from some of the parents, how do you help your kid get better at karate? bring them consistently.
Yes, starting with that. Show up to class.
Show up to class 5 minutes early.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure their uniform is clean. Their toenails are clean. We have all the videos for our katas on our website.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I tell people, watch the kata once a day. You know? You can buy books for them. But the really basic thing is just support them like any sport. Get them there on time. You know, make them feel happy. What's the hardest thing about an adult working out at the gym?
Getting there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same thing.
And that's what we always tell each other. Just get to the
Get
gym.
there.
Just get there. Just get to the dojo.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you got to drag your butt there, but just get there.
We had a girl today, a preteen today, has really high anxiety. And so mom dragged her here.
Yeah.
She was crying and kicking and screaming. And so she was hiding in the change room. So one of the female instructors came and got her and took her out. And I just said, you know what? Can you just sit on the chair outside in the lobby for me? Just hang out. I'll chat with you later in a little while. So hang out. Tears coming down her cheek. And I went and taught, came back after the warm-up, like, hey, how's it going? She's like, I'm not feeling well. I'm like, okay. But you can walk? Yes. Okay. Well, you know what? Why don't you just hang out here? And when you see us doing something so cool and so awesome in the dojo that you want to participate, you're totally welcome to come back.
Come on in, yeah.
Come back in. I think with parents, it's the same thing. So just consistency, supportive, just get them there.
Yeah.
And we'll just try and give them a really awesome time.
Sure. Don't make it feel like a chore, you know?
Yeah.
Don't make it feel like they have to go, you know? I mean, obviously get them there, but they should want to come there as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's the best way. Show them the videos. Let them participate. Be interested.
Yeah.
Right. All right, you've got some fantastic strength and conditioning stuff. I already have written down kinetic chain.
That's all you need to know.
That's all I need to know. If I remember anything from tonight.
I just wanted to give real quickly, real briefly, a little karate training tip this week, and I just wanted, talking a little bit about the Dan test, I just wanted to give one exercise that can improve your kata performance.
I got my pen ready.
And one exercise that can improve your kumite performance. So let me start with the kata performance. Well, first you have to wonder, what is it that makes good kata performance? Well, for most kata practitioners, I think they will tell you
they're short.
They're short. Yeah, have short, strong legs, first of all. But if you don't have short, strong legs, there are some things you can do. Obviously, most of the power comes from the legs in kata, and I think that's where we kind of want to focus most of our strength and conditioning. So the one technique that I have most karate kata athletes work on is like a squat-based exercise where basically you just hold the squat, and as we know from kata, you want to explode into a technique, and you want to be able to hold that technique. So doing like a squat, holding it, and then exploding forward, so almost doing like a long jump into a squat and holding it, and really trying to land, we call stick it, really trying to stick that landing, hold it, and then jump as far as you can. If you have the room to do high jumps as well, it's the same thing. Just hold the squat at the bottom position, hold it for a second, take away what we call the stretch shortening cycle, take that away, because there's not a lot of that in kata. That's reserved mostly for kumite. So take that away, pause at the bottom, explode up, then pause at the bottom again and hold that there. This is where box jumps come in handy as well, because you can pause at the bottom in a squat, explode up into a box jump, hold it there, and then step down and repeat. So just anything that gets your muscles and specifically your legs in a loaded position, exploding to the next position, and I think the key in it is to really stick that next position, really trying to stop in the same position. You can do the same thing with lunges. Lunge down deep, explode up, down, and hold that position. And
we're doing that on Wednesday night.
Yeah, it's a really great one to do, and you really want to think about using you're obviously using your legs, but you want to use your whole body together to really try and stick that landing and hold everything in the one position. So that's the kata technique that
that's awesome.
Help improve your kata performance. Of course, there's many more, but that's the one. One for kumite performance, and one that I kind of wanted to focus on. Of course, lots of different techniques we can do, but I wanted to focus more on punching. Most of the techniques scored in kumite performance are from punches, as Craig Devlin will tell you after his world championship kind of looking at all the different kumite athletes. Most techniques are scored with punches. So one of the things is trying to get a faster and sometimes stronger punch as well. So one of the things that we use is called a landmine, which is just basically something you can either tuck in the corner or sometimes it's attached to a squat rack where you can actually stick a bar in. So you stick the
We got one
bar.
here?
Yes, you do.
Yep.
Yes, we do. You stick it into the bar, you leave it on the floor or whatever, so it sticks out, it's laying on the floor. You pick that up, you get into your kumite stance, whatever side dominant, try both sides, hold it into your dominant hand, and you really want to try and get that rotational power and explode that bar up as fast as you can, and then slowly bring it down, and then explode it back up, and then bring it back down again. It's kind of like doing the medicine ball tosses against the wall where you're doing the torso rotations, but it's a little bit different because it's a very specific punching movement. So you should focus on the same thing, keeping your elbow in, pushing in a straight line, and pushing right through, and really trying to generate the power from your legs, push right from the legs using your kinetic chain, working from the legs, your feet, pushing from the feet off the floor, and really trying to get that rotational power as fast as you can and get it up. And then, of course, the stronger you are and the more advanced you are, you just start adding more weight to it.
I really like that one. In Japan, in the gym, we took a rubber mat, and so we put it halfway up the wall, halfway down. So the bend of the wall, it was curved.
Yes,
and we just shoved the 45-pound plate bar. Then
you can actually really do it in any corner of the wall, really.
So we did that so it wouldn't wreck the wall.
So
it was against a rubber mat, and then we would curl for the girls, then we twist, and then we press. Did a lot. That was awesome.
Yeah. So, that's really going to build your rotational torque as well as your rotational speeds. And that's kind of what you want in karate performance.
Oh, I think that's fantastic. And let's see. How can you do something like that if you don't have any weights? How would you do it?
Probably one of the better ways to do it is just with the medicine ball and throwing it against the wall. If you
absolutely.
have a wall to do it.
We have a wall?
Yeah, a wall. Even if you don't have a wall, you can just do it right across the dojo floor. Hold it. It's a little bit harder with a ball. You have to kind of balance the ball, and then it's a little bit, your body's more succinct to get your elbow to come out, where, of course, we want our elbow to stay in. So it's a little bit harder to do it that way as well.
Do a partner back and forth?
You can do a partner back and forth, or even just taking any bar of any type, obviously a little bit of weight to it if you have it, and same thing, just shove it in the corner of a wall, and if you don't have the room to stand, if it's a shorter bar, that's okay, go down on one knee and really try and get that rotational power on that. So any way you can get the torso rotating, where you're also kind of transferring the energy from your torso up to the arm all the way through the hand, and it's weighted, then it's going to be good.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
man, what a rich amount of information we've been bouncing around tonight.
Yeah. No, it's been great.
That's awesome. Well, Karate 360 Nation, thank you for listening into episode 12. We've had a lot of stuff that we wanted to share with you, and I hope you got something out of it, whether you are a regular recreational karate practitioner or someone who's trying to break into high performance and really go for it. Wow, I can't believe next week we're going to have our first live show.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff. Yeah, we've been talking about it. Now it's ready to go.
Holy cow. Well, we better make sure we take the equipment with us.
We should. That's step one.
Step one, take the equipment.
Yeah.
And I guess we should figure out how to record it live, like with a video camera or something.
Yes, yeah.
I was also thinking maybe we should use Facebook Live.
We could use Facebook Live or Periscope. Something
Periscope.
Like that. Yeah.
That's right. Smoke signals.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Technology, eh?
Technology.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, again, this is Karate 360. We thank you for listening in to episode 12 now. And again, don't forget to catch us on our website, www.karate360podcast.com, as well as Karate 360 on Facebook and Twitter.
And Saturday, December 10th at 9 p.m., we will be at the Sheraton Hotel in Richmond on Westminster Avenue. They're going to put a note somewhere which room we will be in, one of the conference rooms set up in theater style. And you're welcome to come on in for free and participate in the live broadcast, live showing of Karate 360 in front of our first audience.
Standing room only, I think.
I know. Standing room only. It's going to be packed. It's going to be packed.
Yeah.
That's right. We may have stage fright, so if we have our back to the audience, don't worry about it.
That's right.
We'll figure it out.
Just work with it.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I think what we'll do is we'll set up the equipment and we'll just chat.
Yeah.
And we'll go, hey, you, come over here, ask us a question, or put papers out. There's a whole bunch of team building stuff we can do too. So
yeah, it's great.
Awesome.
Anyways, guys, thanks again for listening. Don't forget these podcasts come out Monday mornings. So tune in again next week where we'll talk a little bit about the tournaments that have come up, and we'll get back to kind of our more regular, I guess, segments. But this week we brought you all about the Dan test.
I don't think anything's going to be regular. We're going to do this amazing Dan test one. The next week will be a live show, and next week, who knows?
You never know what we're going to bring in.
We're bringing you stuff.
360.
And big thanks to Kalan for doing all the post-production editing, too. He works pretty hard to make sure it gets out on all the platforms. Keep listening to us, and we look forward to meeting some of you in person next week.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Sanokumaru.